Your arms going up.
I think we are. The quieter Dustin saw.
Like a day.
First there, places and now he's
Like
like.
if you're going to Banff, I would just, unless you have like 2 weeks.
No, we don't have
Or should I
Yeah, if
say
you're like a week, I'll just go to Banff.
we don't need that.
Do glacier videos. Unless you guys something right. I mean, it's just pretty.
Well, we've got
Okay, I'll go back to the. Oh,
Try to
no,
do it.
it's more fun this way.
The Teton Crest?
Well, Teton Crest is in August, and then
Do you have extra space on your Teton Crest?
possible.
How'd you get those
I have
permits?
12. I have 12.
I'm gonna go run it this year because I've never been able to get permits.
Yeah, permits are hard to get.
Torque.
Got a hammer bike in the order here.
It's almost hiking season.
It's almost hiking season. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the May 7th Logan Municipal Council Meeting. Happy to see some faces here in the audience with us today. Our opening ceremony today is, Jeanette, remind me of your last name. Esplin. Is here from the Chamber of Commerce to do our opening for us. Come on up to the microphone right there.
Oh, I was like, I don't know how to do any of this, so it's my first time. I guess talk to you guys. I'm Jeanette Esplin with the Chamber of Commerce, and I am the Director of Operations and Marketing. And I also am the Director of the new Summer Citizens Program, not new to the Valley, but new to us. We've taken it over this year, and we're super excited. We're a couple weeks away. We have over 530 registered with us, so that's quite a few. We're excited. We have t-shirts ordered, lanyards, all the kinds of good stuff. We have over 30 businesses, local businesses doing our T-shirt Tuesday program, which I'm sure you'll see a bunch of bright green t-shirts around the valley this summer. What else? We're very excited to partner with the Lob Center. We're going to do a couple of concerts there, maybe our orientation, check-in there. I don't know. Some really fun stuff. I'm trying to think of what else is really fun. The rec department also is going to join us with our health fair that we're doing on the 29th of May. So, and talk to the summer citizens about what they have to offer and so many fun things that they can do there. And Silver Sneakers, I hear, is a program that they use. We're going to hear all about that. I don't know anything. So, anyway, any questions? Talk to me. We have great websites for the summer citizens on our chamber website.
Are they still coordinating with the university?
So the university is keeping the education piece, and we are now partnering with Bridgerland Technical College to also do some education classes down there. But they wanted to keep the education, and we're doing the fun stuff. So, any other questions?
I'm excited.
Oh,
It
yeah.
sounds great. Not that I'm invited really, but
I've
I did Summer Citizens in right after the Teton Dam disasters when we started the program.
It's like 40.
I was like, you attended in 19?
I did attend.
I'm teasing.
We had lectures and we did a lot of stuff, so
Yeah.
they've been coming for a long time.
It's like 48 years or something.
Yep.
And there's only one other program like this in the United States, so we want to keep it going.
Even some people come from Texas, even though they don't live in Zone City.
That's right. And California. We're branching out.
Very cool.
We're really trying to work this summer to educate the people in Cache Valley that are of age that can join the program to join the program, because it's for everybody. So,
yeah. How many participants do you have so far this year?
539 or something.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, thanks for keeping this going, because I know it's a huge economic boon to us here in Cache Valley, and particularly in Logan. Citizens attend so many of our events and shop in our stores and rent places, and so thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for partnering with USU as that transition happened.
You're welcome. We're happy to do it.
Okay.
Oh, will you join me in the pledge?
We would love to.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Jeanette. After the weather today, it's hard to think about summer, but it will be here eventually. At this time, I would entertain a motion for acceptance of the minutes and approval of tonight's agenda from the council.
I'll move acceptance of the minutes and approval of the agenda for tonight.
I'll second that.
All right, any changes, questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are accepted and the agenda for tonight is approved. Just a reminder that our regular meetings are on the first and third Tuesday of every month here in the Logan Council Chambers. Our next meeting will be May 21st at 5:30 p.m. Now is for
the financial ones.
well, those are, I'll talk about those under council.
Okay, right.
This is the time, every meeting where we open it up for questions and comments for the mayor and the council. If you'd like to come up and comment on any item not otherwise on the agenda, you can address the city council at this point by stepping up to the microphone there and giving your name, the city in that which you reside, for our record, and also need to make sure you sign in on the back. We'd ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes, and if you're here with a group, to appoint a spokesperson to speak for you. It's a time and a place for people who have any comment on a non-agenda item, and if you bring up any items that need follow-up, we do work diligently to get those answers to you following our meetings. They'll be provided out. Requests will be followed up on. So, the floor is yours.
Hi, hello, Matthew Fatuesi. You can hear me fine, right, if I keep the mask on? Sweet. So I want to talk about the Logan's AI draft that, you guys familiar with it at all, the AI draft? Are you aware of it? It's sort of the root of what you're going to be basing a lot of decisions on going forward. And I would like to just draw some attention to it. See, there's a confusion that I was hoping to draw out because AI doesn't stand for artificial intelligence, it stands for analysis of impediments. And it's a very convoluted thing that was written, and I feel like it actually was written by AI because it does claim that racism was solved at some point. Not giving any examples as to why, but they'll give examples of how money can be affected going forward, but, you know. Anyways, so I had some specific things. See, there's some nuance that I really think that you guys are really not leaning into and iterating on. So I'll start with this paragraph, as is, verbatim. The significance of fair housing cannot be overstated. It represents a cornerstone of human rights, crucial for fostering inclusive and diverse communities. Unfortunately, many individuals and families face challenges in accessing safe and affordable housing due to discriminatory practices influenced by a variety of factors, such as socioeconomic status, race, or disability. Now, I want to make a little deviation to that because it really does seem like you guys just aren't addressing the actual problems, instead trying to find band-aid solutions like giving more resources to the problems or relying on self-reported instances of racism, ableism, or capitalism running rampant inside of the tenant or the landlords. Like you're asking for anonymous self-reports and using this kind of information for your decisions on how to best address the problem, and never ever considering not caring about what the investors of these real estate agencies are actually interested in, and demanding that we hold them to a higher standard of quality and stop focusing on equal housing in a general sense, because you guys have renting etched in there, and renting, affordable renting, is not the baseline human condition at all. So there's so many different instances in here that are so ridiculously silly, and I want to point out too, at the very bottom, after all the contextualizing, that in that context, racism is solved in some way. You have 6 main impediments. The first 3 are nice and seem fine and generically, AI written. Seems like there were 3 other ones added in post-fact in the draft, and you can tell because it goes, number 1 is housing affordability, number 2, geographic concentrations, number 3, fair housing awareness, blaming the people for their own problems instead of the people with actual power, And then number 4 is potential discrimination for fair housing, because I guess things have been solved or there is no evidence at the moment. Who knew that self-reporting wouldn't result in anything conclusive? And then number 4 was potential discrimination of fair housing. Number 5 is potential discrimination of fair housing. 4 and 5, just potentialities that you guys are throwing out there instead of hardlining on the actually specific problems. We have enough confidence inside of this country to wage war on drugs or something like that, so why not actually wage war on these esoteric concepts that we apparently don't have to worry about nowadays? But let's keep a war mindset on them, since we have our own war rooms in our own police departments at the moment. They might as well put them to use, right? So anyways, impediment number 6 is limited marketing tools, and this is where it's giving the pacifier to not the baby that needs it or anything like that, but actually giving it to the asshole that's stabbing the baby at some point. You guys are hoping that the investors will solve the problem when they are the problem. Anyways, thank you for your time. Just pay attention to the roots. There's problems there.
So Matthew, could you do me a favor? Could you send me a link to that document that you're referring to so that I know?
It's on your website. It's literally on your...
It's under ComDev, under CPG.
Okay, thanks.
Have fun reading through it.
My name is Joy Nava. I'm 13 and I'm in 7th grade.
Hello, my name is Mason Hart. I'm 13. I'm also in the 7th grade.
Hi, my name is Mia Cecina. I am 14 and I'm in 8th grade.
Hi, my name is Victoria Saez and
I have 14 years old and I'm in 8th grade.
Representing for the Youth Council or Youth Council. What is our problem? Youth citizens of Utah are not necessarily heard, especially when it comes to making community decisions. As a community, we should be able to have a voice or say in the decisions, for we are also a part of the community.
Our solution to this problem is to create a youth city council, which would allow youth citizens' voices to be heard and help them when it comes to decision making for community, or in this case, Logan.
Our whys. A youth council is critical for fostering active civic engagement among young people, providing them with a platform to voice their opinions, concerns, and ideas on issues that directly impact their lives.
By establishing a youth council, communities empower the next generation to actively participate in decision-making processes, ensuring that their perspectives are considered in the development of policies and initiatives.
A youth council serves as a training ground for future leaders, offering valuable opportunities for young individuals to develop essential leadership skills such as public speaking, teamwork, and conscientious building.
Through the establishment of a youth council, communities can bridge the general gap, fostering understanding and collaborations between different age groups and promoting a more inclusive and diverse approach to community development.
Youth Council contributes to overall well-being of the community by tapping into the initiative and fresh perspectives of young minds, fostering a sense of responsibility and ownership among youth, and ultimately building a stronger, more vibrant community for the future.
Will students want to join? Our answer yes. If only high school students are eligible to join, there are students who are in 8th grade that said they will go next year. 8th graders who participate in Latinos in Action, Student Council, National and Junior Society, and EX Club. Students in high school will participate to help with the community and to gain some knowledge for government or for leading.
Our final words. We believe that a youth city council would help open lots of opportunities for the city of Logan and future leaders of America.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions for us necessarily?
So I have two. So how can we get in touch with you to follow up? Is there, I know you signed in, but is there one person in particular?
Our teacher, Ms. Beaver, we have talked to the mayor about this, and I have emailed you and Ernesto about it. Ernesto did follow up on the email, but we still are trying to get it in.
Okay, thanks. And then what does your sweatshirt stand for?
Youth Empowered Civic Services.
Okay, is that a group that's already in place?
Yes, club.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so anyone else have a question for that?
Thank you for coming and sharing your
Enthusiasm.
your vision for what could be a good program to have. Thank you.
We did have youth council.
We did several years ago, yeah.
Mayor Danes was telling us about it and how they had to put it off because of how people got involved with sports, student government, after-school clubs and stuff, so.
I think it kind of dropped off when COVID happened too.
Yeah.
Because it used to be one of our responsibilities.
Well, I promise Ernesto and I will talk about it, and we will make sure we get back to it, like in a week or two, you think? In a week or two. So thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Do you mind could they come stand near you guys and take a picture?
Oh, absolutely. That's
We
fine.
could do that, if you don't mind standing and
Nope,
they
we
can
can
stand
do
in
that.
front of you and we'll do a picture. Sorry, I know I sound like a mom.
No, it's
Another enemy's these kids.
we have to do my
Teaching them.
I say, do we want to bring him back over here?
No, come over here.
Well, they're trying to show the thing in the front.
But yeah, two on this side, two on that side, we're good. Okay, here we go. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
The thing in the front. Oh my God. Is it a logo? The emblem.
It's our seal.
The seal, that's the correct term. Any logo with they don't want to stay for all the excitement.
I know. Man.
Hours.
Leaves after all the exciting
Okay.
things.
We will now move on to the mayor and staff reports. We have one event today. Mayor Danes is excused from attending today. One mayor and staff report. Mayor Danes is excused from being here today, but Ernesto has a presentation to make.
Let me to read this.
Yeah, you can read it. Yeah. Be great, thanks.
I probably know if this is more than Ernesto, but
Ernesto reads all the way over.
Should I just read off of this?
yeah, that would be great.
All right, well, I'd like to present our Department of Light and Power to acknowledge that the department has significantly exceeded the 5-year average for all U.S. electric utilities for reliable electric service. The utility participates in the American Public Power Association's E-Reliability Tracker service to track its power outages and restoration against national benchmarks. So, Mark,
Explain.
congratulations.
Would you like to explain a little bit more?
So the American Public Power Association, or the APPA, is our national kind of group that we have for municipally owned power companies and co-ops and so forth. For example, Rock Mountain Power is a for-profit entity. They are not part of the APPA. And in their large group of membership, of the services that are similar to our size, we're one of the best in our 5-year average. So I think the last time I checked the stats on the energy industrial something site, the US EIA, I can't remember what it stands for, but the rating is how many minutes of power outages you have per customer. And ours is somewhere between 4 and 5 minutes per year per customer.
Wow.
And just to contrast that, maybe a larger unnamed entity that serves a lot of people around us serve over 200 minutes. So that kind of gives you a little bit of contrast. Anyways,
Very cool.
Every bit of this goes to my department, right? Those guys that do the actual work, I don't really do anything. So
Oh, school.
I don't put anybody's power back in. So anyway. So
But you
I think
could.
this is, well,
But I think it's so wonderful to recognize the quality of service that we have here in Logan City. So thank you for everything you do, because unfortunately, probably people only comment on electricity when it is those 4 minutes that they're down. And just really the reliability, I think that's what's helped to drive our economic development, right, Kurt? That people know that they can come here as a business, that they're going to get reliable power, that our citizens do. So thanks for making the quality of life here what it is.
thank you. Thank you for this award.
Thanks, Bart.
I worked all night on creating.
All right, we'll now move on to council business. Jeannie, do you have a planning commission update for us?
Unfortunately, I don't, because they
didn't have a
they
meeting.
didn't have a meeting. So this used to happen occasionally before COVID, but since COVID, we've been on this like boom trajectory, and so this time was an anomaly. They
Okay.
did not have a meeting.
Well, it is yours and our Vice Chair, Mark Anderson's opportunity to share any board or committee reports that you would like.
I don't care. You want to go first?
I'll go first, yeah.
Okay.
Solid Waste Advisory Committee met last week, which was our first meeting, and we discussed the rate study that had just been completed, and they shared a lot of really interesting information with us. They were very complimentary of our solid waste department. We have a lot of things in place, a lot of function and functionality and processes in place that a lot of other places don't, and we are very advantageous when it comes to how we collect and dispose of our solid waste. So it was a really good discussion. They have decided that since we have not raised rates for 6 or 7 years, that we probably need to, because of the cost of fuel, cost of equipment, cost of replacing equipment, and labor. We're just going to have to raise rates. But it was interesting how low our rates are going to be, and I'm sure that's coming to council here shortly, compared to other places in the valley that have had to go a different route. So that was satisfying to discuss that. So we're going to meet again and probably approve the rate schedule that they have outlined for us, and then bring that to council.
Okay.
Then Golf Advisory Board met, and golf course is doing very well. There's a lot of interest in golf right now, and so they're very busy. They finished a couple big capital improvements that came in under budget, which was wonderful. We're like, maybe we can take some of that money and budget to some more, Rich. Some more capital improvements. So there was a nice golf cart path that was finished, and they were able to save a lot of money by using the right contractors. So it was a very, very good meeting, and a lot of good things happening at the golf course as well too. So I'll report on those two for now.
Thanks.
Okay, in the past month, I went to Planning Commission once, but I reported that at the meeting, the third meeting of April. I attended 2 CMPO executive board meetings. There will be a Safe Streets Summit. I believe it is
May 16th?
Saturday, May 16th? Yeah. Okay, I wasn't remembering what date it was.
Yes. Next
And
Thursday.
everyone is welcome to come. We have set a goal, the CFPO has set a goal to reduce accidents on the streets of Logan substantially, and this Safe Streets Summit is part of that effort. I also went to the Adams Neighborhood Meeting, which was very, very nice to talk to the neighbors and get some sense of how they're feeling in their neighborhood. We have some things that we're going to start working on. They had some concerns with people spending too much time on the church grounds on 5th North. And so that, I believe, has been handled. I attended the water board meeting and it was quite a long meeting. We discussed we had the preliminary pieces of the discussion on the new water tank that has been, that we've talked about in council over the last few years. They have found a new location for it, actually on university property. I believe they're working on, they may have bought it already, I'm not sure.
We're working on the contract right now.
Right, and they have a design. The state is requiring that we create this tank, so it's rather a large project that will change water pressure in various parts of Logan, and it will not reduce water pressure, but it will increase it to some areas, and it will also give us some safety valve in terms of storage. Mike and I both participated with the mayor in a Highway 8991 walk audit. They had one while we were celebrating the opening of the library, so they were kind enough to come back up and do it again with us. Some of the alternatives are interesting, some of them are frustrating, some of them are bigger problems than we can solve, and some of them we need to figure out the steps to solve them in itty-bitty steps. So I think there's a tremendous need for us to provide additional non-automobile transportation corridors for people, walking, biking, mopeding, whatever. And I think we need to work toward providing those, especially for our core downtown, since it's such a big highway right in the middle. And I attended 3 airport authority board meetings.
In a month?
In a month. One was the regular airport authority board meeting. One was a review of we have had a consultant working on the airport and doing a consulting report. He has been very, very thorough. And we saw the preliminary slides that went along with that and got to ask questions. We did that in groups of 2. And today I was on a Zoom meeting with the ombudsman, that newly established ombudsman for Utah Department of Transportation. It was their first meeting. Their sole purpose is to work through and help cities, towns, and people communicate and work with utilities like the railroad.
Like the railroad.
Yes, and so this was a discussion, I don't know, people might not be aware that the airport's eastern boundary is, between its boundary, there's a railroad track just to the east of the boundary of the airport. And we have to have a fence a certain number of feet from the 1735 main runway for FAA regulations, and that fence happens to live on Union Pacific property. And we have had a 20-year lease with them that was not a lot of money, and when that lease expired, it suddenly became extremely valuable property, and so the airport is working through those issues. And it was nice. There were a lot of people from the railroad that were there, and it was a good conversation. We'll see where we go next. So that's what I've done.
Thanks. Interesting issues that we're not always aware of.
That's true.
Thanks. So this month, because we are nearing the start of, or we're in the thick of budget season now, I guess, because Mayor Daines presented her budget to us at our last meeting. We will be having budget workshops here at the council on Tuesdays. The 14th of May is scheduled to have workshop discussions on enterprise fund transfers, fraud risk assessment, parks and rec, environmental, fire, and our community development. So if you're interested in weighing in on those budget items or hearing our discussion or the presentations from those directors, you're welcome to come. It'll be at 5:30 on May 14th. And we will also cover the Logan Redevelopment Agency on that date. And then on May 28th, we will again be meeting. We will be meeting with the directors from Light and Power. Mark will, I'm sure, be wearing a tie and looking very spiffy. Library, police, and public works. So again, if you'd like to come in and listen in on our workshop, we'd be happy to have you here. It is a workshop, it is not a public hearing. If you do have any input into the budget process, there will be public hearings for that when we discuss the budget at our second meeting in June. So hopefully I got those items correct.
However, if they have comments, they should bring those to the attention of the mayor and the council long before then.
Thank you very much. That's true. Yeah. So written comments are always welcome. Phone calls are welcome if you have questions about the budget. Thanks for clarifying that, Rich. Yeah, it's not just during the public hearing that you can pop in. You are always welcome to reach out to us. All right. Next, we will move to our action items. We do have 5 public hearings tonight. The first public hearing is on Resolution 24-12. This is a budget adjustment. Rich, do you want to refresh us on this one?
A few items to consider. Request to appropriate $7,370 for police department forfeitures toward police equipment. Request to appropriate $10,583. Fire department received additional grant funds for EMS training. Request to appropriate $1,000 and $1,004 for communication medical training out of our 911 center. Request to appropriate $74,800 for police department state of Utah mental wellness screening funds we've been given. And lastly, a request to appropriate $50,000. It's a grant the community development department received for the general plan update, to partially pay for the general plan update.
Any
Is that a
questions
match?
for Rich?
Is that matching or?
I'm sure it is, but we will put in triple that.
Any questions for Rich before we open the public hearing? All right, seeing none, this is a public hearing. Anyone caring to speak to Resolution 24-12, please approach the microphone, state your name and city you reside in, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I have a younger brother who was a sheriff's deputy in Pinellas County, Florida. And as I was telling the chief, he decided to retire rather than shoot the sergeant. It's good to know that there is some mental wellness programs going on, and I'm very happy to see that this is something that is a common occurrence, because the police department gets a lot of backlash from hard things that they have to do. And I'm very much, because of my brother probably, and because of my foster kids, very much happy to know that the police department is getting what they need for support.
Can you tell us your name and where you live?
Oh, Gail Yost, sorry.
That's okay.
I live here in Logan on First East and have lived in that house for almost 45 years.
Almost as long as the summer medicine program.
Yeah.
Hey, if I knew there was a program for helping me, no. No, we love our home. It's an old house. The front part of it is 142 years old.
Wow.
And it has a very sweet spirit, which makes it good for all of the kids we raised.
Well, thanks, Gail. Thanks for caring about our police officers. I know that all of us up here are very aware of the mental stresses that they face, and we're glad that service is here as well.
I was concerned about Jeff. So.
Anybody else? All right, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and bring this back to the council for action.
I move we approve Resolution 24-12.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution 24-12 is approved. Our next public hearing is on Resolution 24-13, which is a consideration for adoption of a resolution declaring the city's intention to reimburse itself related to the electric turbines that we're purchasing. Rich, do you want to weigh in on anything else with that?
As you recall, I believe it was September, October, we appropriated $21 million toward the construction of natural gas turbines, which will help offset some of the power needs the city has for various reasons, including to offset solar power and other power sources. As we've gotten into the details and locations and specific plans for this project, the prices are potentially creeping up. We think they're going up. Our options are limited because we've appropriated much of our reserves toward good projects. Therefore, if the price of the project goes up, we will have to look at other financing options. One of those is to go through UMs, and that is still on the table. The other potential option is for the city to bond in some form at some future date and to reimburse the city. In order for that option to remain a viable option, we have to do this resolution, which simply says that if we do bond, and for all intents and purposes for this resolution, we're planning that that would be the case, that we would be able to reimburse us for costs up to the date specified in this, which I believe is today. Any costs incurred after that date, we could reimburse ourselves. We could issue the bonds a year from now, 2 years from now. If it goes much beyond that, we'll probably come back and just redo this and remind ourselves that we issued this, assuming it passes, the council decides to pass this resolution. It does not obligate us to bond. It simply keeps that option open for us and the option to reimburse ourselves should we go down that path.
And that's a legal requirement, correct?
It is. One other, thing to note is this does not authorize us to issue bonds either. It simply authorizes us to be reimbursed. The authorization for the bonding and specific circumstances surrounding that would come to council at a future unspecified date once we're sure that's the direction we want to go.
Any other questions for Rich?
I have a financial question for you. So, given the current economic and interest rates, if we were to bond right now, that means we pay more, is that right?
More than we normally would, yes.
When it matures and...
So what it would mean is right now, interest rates are probably around 4% for our credit rating and this type of bond that we're looking at. Somewhere around 4, maybe just north of 4. If we were to bond in the future, rates came down, we could be looking at 3.5%, something like that.
Well, the reason it's so low is because it is a government bond, not a taxable bond. So it's generally non-taxable to the people who purchase it.
Tax exempt bond for a municipal purpose, which would be our electric fund, again, if we decided to do it. Right now, interest rates about 4. Could go up if interest rates stay high, but probably, if anything, it'll come down in the future.
So a couple of years ago when the interest, like for home mortgages, were like in the 2s, what were the interest rates for this type of?
From the 2s, probably about 2 3/4, something like that. Yeah.
They got really low, those tax exempt bonds. As a matter of fact, often you were underwater with them because you had to pay, you had to buy them at a discount because their interest rate was really not great.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted them.
So one other just item of note, this would be an electric fund bond if we issued it. It would not affect the credit of any of our other funds necessarily, other than it would increase the overall debt load the city has, which is extremely low with the exception of our sewer treatment bonds, which is quite a bit significant.
Any other questions for Rich? Okay, this is a public hearing. If anyone would like to speak to Resolution 24-13, please come to the microphone, state your name and location, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing nobody, I will bring it back to the council for discussion and or action.
How much of our 21 million has been spent so far that we appropriated? 400?
4 million.
About 4 million.
Okay.
And none of that's been, it's down payment on the turbines and other kind of preparatory costs.
So we could technically reimburse for what's left.
Yeah, we can reimburse everything after this. I think this technically goes back 60 days, something like that.
Okay.
So 60 days prior to the date that we specified.
Gotcha. Thank you.
But the UAMPS discussion is still on the table. It's just leaving an option for financing if we go over the 21 million that we've already have in place in our reserves. Okay.
It is. The UAMPS discussion is a nerdy accounting thing. Most of the things that we do
Is
with
that why you're
UAMPS
smiling?
Yes.
Yeah. Most of the things we do with UAMPS are, most of the debt or projects, they're obligations, and we disclose that we have this obligation to buy this power. Even if it's not produced, that's how those purchase power contracts work. And because of that, we don't have to book the debt on our financial statements. We disclose that we have this obligation for debt. We don't book it on our financial statements. However, in this case, there's some debate as to whether this would qualify. UAMPS believes it would qualify as a purchase power contract. As I've discussed it with our auditors, we have some concern because it looks and acts like a purchase power contract, but really it's just financing. And so if that UAMPS thing works out, terrific. Otherwise, hopefully, we'd have this option in place to do it.
Okay.
After that, I move for approval of Resolution 24-13.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 24-13, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 24-13 passes. Our next action item is an ordinance. This is a public hearing for ordinance 24-10. It's a rezone of downtown public properties, the fire station, the library, and the plaza from TC1-ish stuff to public. So, Mike, anything you'd like to share with us?
You have content. You turn on the big screen.
Yeah, just give you a brief rundown of what we're doing. This is the downtown rezone. It's just a cleanup rezone. The new fire station is currently zoned TC1. We're proposing to rezone it to public. And conversely, the old fire station is public, and we're proposing to rezone that to TC1. And then we've got the new library, which is zoned TC1, proposing to go to public. And then the plaza, which is currently TC1, proposing to go to public. So basically just switching things around, cleaning it up, make it match what's there.
Any questions for Mike?
I just have one question. I should have asked it today while I was there. I forgot. When we were originally talking about putting the fire station in the parking lot, that very first discussion, there was some talk about the historic district. Is that area in the historic district overlay?
Good question. I don't think it is. I don't know for certain.
Okay.
I can shoot you.
Because I was wondering, because I know across the street is, I know, all the way around it is. So I didn't know whether it was appropriate for us to put the overlay over that now that we don't have necessarily public buildings there.
Over the new one or the old one?
The old one.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So I don't know whether it was left out or not. I didn't look.
Okay.
So would the fire station qualify as a historic structure then?
It's over 50 years old. Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Makes me feel historic.
What is it grade? What's its grade if it's a historic district? If it's a historic.
Think about me. Well, we have put the property up for sale and it has been sold.
I believe,
Or
yeah.
it's in the process of
being sold, correct.
And my understanding is that it's not going to be torn down. It's going to be used as
It
is.
looks like the historic
I say it looks like it's
district
now.
curves around the fire station.
It is.
It
Yeah, according to the
jumps
zoning
into
map,
the
it's not
property. It
historic.
doesn't follow the block. It wraps around.
Specifically
Because of the
excludes the fire
public
station.
Because of the public piece.
So
And
if we rezone it, would it go back to would it have a
No,
historic
we'd have to
overlay?
amend that. We'd have to amend the boundaries of the district.
Can we do that, please, so that it's all even and nice and tidy?
Yeah, we have a grant that we are actually, will reevaluate all the properties in the district and then look at stuff around it.
So it looks like it
So
leads
we'll do
out.
that this fall, I'm assuming, and then be
Bank,
all
It leads out
recommendations
the bank
probably by
compared
the
to their
end of the
mental
year.
health.
but you're not.
Okay, as long as something
They're
doesn't
not
happen to be
historical.
clean.
So even if we cleaned it up,
Could have wished it.
it would not be clean. 'Cause
Well, Mike, you could fix that one right now, and then we could go for the other thing.
Okay. Thanks for making me feel old tonight. So.
It is interesting when you look at the historic zone, it is kind of like
It's pretty jagged.
super jagged. It looks like it's an odd configuration, but anyway. All right, any other questions for Mike before we open the public hearing? Okay. This is a public hearing for ordinance 24-10, the rezone on downtown public properties. Anybody caring to speak to it, please come to the mic. Name and location, and please limit your comment to 3 minutes. Seeing no takers, I'll bring it back to the council for action.
I'll move we approve ordinance 24-10.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance 24-10 passes. Thank you, Mike. Our next public hearing is a resolution, Resolution 24-10. This is a consideration proposed of adopting a revised Logan Light Power rate schedule. Would you like to come up and talk to us about this, Mark?
No.
Wrong question.
You know, I know Mayor Danes is not here, but you still need to address the council.
I know, I will. Not would you like, will you please come and address the council?
I think well, I don't know what Benji said, but essentially the changes in the rates are the amount that we bill for equipment and manpower. For example, we've had a lot of car hit poles. We had a semi run over a transformer last week and burned that up. When we bill those insurance companies for manpower, hours, and equipment used, we have this set rate schedule, and we bump those up to kind of to match what FEMA suggests is that the equipment is worth. The manpower rates we came up with Ambry's help. And then the other thing that's changed is we used to have kind of this table for connection fees for three-phase power. And the equipment costs are just outrunning. I could come to council every month and need to change those. So we've changed that to read whatever we pay for it, that's what you're going to pay for it, which is the purpose of the connection fee.
Yeah.
So power transformer costs and wire costs will just be kind of straight through, so to speak. Those are the really big changes in it.
Okay. Any questions for Mark?
On the labor part of it, I feel like those rates could be variable to some degree. I don't know how often do they change, but is that the best practice that we can implement for this?
We could get really nitty gritty and kind of go down the same route and say, whatever we paid for the manpower to do that job, we're passing that on. But that'd be pretty onerous for us to track. Although with our new software, maybe not so onerous, but those numbers don't move quite so fast. So we feel like that's.
And if Mark goes out, it costs 3 times as much, no matter what.
Nobody wants me showing up, trust me. I'm okay with what we have, but certainly there's lots of different ways to do it. This seems to be kind of the standard of how many cities do it. Most cities do it.
They charge a flat rate
No, for the manpower, they
for
kind
the
of,
manpower.
They figure out an
Yeah.
average cost per hour.
Interesting.
And I will note that those rates are kind of wages, benefits, all rolled in. Right.
As they should be.
As they should be.
Any other questions for Mark? All right, this is a public hearing on Resolution 24-10. If anyone would like to speak to it, please come to the microphone, state your name and location, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing nobody, I will bring it back to the council for action. Or not. Everybody's like,
I move we approve Resolution 24-10.
I'll second
Can't
it.
see it, it's like.
Yeah. And Mike seconded.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? This just might be something Mark and David to keep an eye on if all of a sudden we see a huge jump up in our staffing costs.
Yeah.
I wish.
No comment, Rich?
So we all look at Rich.
One quick question, actually, before we vote. How are those amounts entered into this? Who puts that into? When somebody has to pay these amounts, who enters the amounts on?
My planner puts those invoices together, and then they go through billing, and they get sent to whomever's paying the bill.
Or community development, depending if it's attached to a building permit or something like
Yeah.
that, potentially.
Oh, yeah, for new construction, certainly do. Insurance claim would go through mine.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, seeing none. All those in favor of Resolution 24-10, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Resolution 24-10 is approved. Our next public hearing comes to us from our power department. This is Resolution 24-11. This is to authorize a tax certificate and agreement for UAMPS for Firm Power Supply Project. What is Firm Power, Mark?
Firm Power is the project at UAMPS that houses kind of all these different power purchase agreements, as opposed to, for example, the Payson power plant in Payson. We have a portion of that. That is not in the Firm Power because we own a portion of the output of that plant. But anything we just have a power purchase through goes through the Firm Power project. So we have a wind farm up in Wyoming that is in Firm Power. The Red Mesa Solar is in Firm Power. And the Steel Solar is in Firm Power. Because they're just power purchase agreements with those entities.
Okay.
You'll recall I went through a really, Ernesto's seen it a couple times now, a really fancy slideshow presentation about the prepaid transaction. This is a continuation of that. We put in you guys authorized that the natural gas we're using to produce power in a 5-year block was going to be used for qualified use, which makes this transaction acceptable in the tax code. This is saying, hey, that was only 5 years. This is a 30-year agreement. So the power purchase agreement for the Red Mesa Solar and the power purchase agreement for the Steel 1B Solar project are 25-year PPAs. So we're putting some of those into this prepaid transaction in order to get the discounted rate. And this resolution authorizes that those are being used for qualified use, which is to say that we resell that power to customers. We don't resell it to make money on the market. The other part of this resolution is to authorize me or UG to sign a tax certificate when they go to bond for this prepaid transaction, that we have to certify that with the tax code that we're using all of these entities for qualified use. And there will actually need to be 3 certificates signed, one for the natural gas, one for the Red Mesa, and one for the Steel Solar project. And those have to be signed the day they bond. So it just authorizes Eugene and I to sign that. The mayor could certainly sign it as well, though.
Any other questions from Mark?
I asked this question, I think, if I remember right, in the meeting, but it will only apply to the purchases on those projects, the discount that we get, right?
Yeah,
So not.
and the portion of those projects that we put into the prepay.
So not on the necessarily the bigger purchase agreements that we have that are shorter lived.
No, unless we decide we need to, but right now, this should take us for a while.
Other questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to Resolution 24-11, please come to the microphone, state your name and your location, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing
I'm
nobody.
it, aren't I?
I know. I guess power is not the draw.
Unless it doesn't work.
Unless it doesn't work.
It makes
kind of
too
power, I
much
guess.
sense
Yeah.
for me to say anything.
All right, I will then close the public hearing, bring it back to the council for action.
Move for approval of Resolution 24-11.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 24-11, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 24-11 passes. That is the end of our public hearing and action items for the evening. We will now move on to our workshop items. We have 2 of those this evening. The first is a resolution approving the consolidated plan for our CDBG program. Resolution 24-14.
Yep, and we are just going to workshop the comp plan tonight, and then the next meeting, we will workshop the annual action plan, and then the following meeting, hopefully, we will adopt both of those. And then just to respond to Matthew's comments about the analysis of impediments, there's a draft available on the website under Community Development Block Grant. It's actually going to be updated. The consultant has to update the maps. Some of the data was changed a little bit, but yeah, I mean, you can go look at it and just look at it for yourself and figure out what he was talking about. So, okay, I'll go through this real briefly. We workshopped this earlier, and this is just a refinement of that. So this is our 5-year plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program. We've got to adopt it for 24 through 28. I'll go through a kind of review of the previous plan that we're completing, and then we'll kind of talk about the next steps going forward. We've had a public hearing to initiate the planning effort. We did a steering committee workshop. We held public workshops. We posted summaries of the document and opened it for a public comment period. And that will end when we have the public hearing with you. So within the strategic plan, there's different elements. One is, or within the comp plan, there's different elements. One is the strategic plan that'll identify the 5-year funding priorities and goals. We also updated the 2024 citizen participation plan. There's an updated analysis of impediments, fair housing, and then the action plan will follow, and that's really where we refine what we're doing for this coming year, and that implements the 5-year plan. CDBG funds, you have to use those to meet a national objective, and generally in our community it's benefit low, moderate income individuals. We have done some slum and blight work in the past, but we have to have a blight finding to do that. And then the bottom line is that at least 70% has to be used to meet a low to moderate income objective. So when you look at what our AMI is in the area, that's what really is the threshold or the standard is your income. When you look at the federal government guidance, they give you some different numbers, but generally this is the chart they put out to show us what those numbers are for your adjusted median income for a 4-person family. And that's kind of the benchmark is for 4 people in a family. 80% of the AMI is $69,900. So that really, the 2023 AMI is $87,000. Freddie Mac has a little bit different AMI, and that's if you're trying to qualify for a Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae mortgage. But it's, essentially it shows where we're at as a community. So some background information, low, moderate income criteria. When we do a project, it's got to meet an area benefit. So looking at Logan, we qualify as a low, moderate city because over 51% of our population is above the threshold for low, moderate income. We can also do projects that benefit a limited clientele. You make some assumptions when you do like something for Family Place or CAPSA, you presume that the folks that are using those services meet the qualifications for low mod. So whether you're elderly, disabled, abused, battered, homeless, things like that. There's also the criteria of nature and location. So like the food bank, the nature of the activities, you're servicing people that need help, or the location of activities like a senior center. The presumption again is that you're serving low to moderate income individuals. We also can use that when we do removal of architectural barriers. So when we do ADA compliance work, we put in ADA corners. The presumption is that somebody that needs that assistance is going to be disabled, and therefore they're going to fall under that low LMI threshold. Here's a map. It's a little bit old, but this generally shows you that most of Logan is considered low mod. There's a few areas that aren't, but there are. It's interesting. Like this subset here is where the elementary or the middle school is, and some residential around it. So it's interesting that census block doesn't qualify.
Or did not in 2015.
2015, yeah. So eligible activities, you can acquire, dispose of real property, provided it's related to an LMI project or use. So we could buy property for a food bank or for a homeless shelter, things like that. Public facilities and improvements, libraries, parks, infrastructure, shelters, and that's where generally our investment in neighborhoods falls under. We do sidewalks and ADA corners and trails. Public services, if they serve low mod income clientele. We could do rehab of property, LMI housing, economic development, homeowner assistance, and then planning and program administration. Things that we can't fund general government, we can't fund general government facilities, we can't fund political activities. In the past, we've purchased personal equipment, but we are getting away from that because really we shouldn't be. We can lease it, we can pay for a lease, but we shouldn't be buying like computers for Family Place because literally they can get up and walk away, and that's really why we can't do it. We generally can't pay for O&M unless it's associated with a facility that serves low to moderate income clientele. We cannot pay for new housing.
O&M is operations and management?
Operation and maintenance, correct. Yeah. We cannot do income payments, so things where you would help people with rent payment, clothing, housing, utilities, things like that. We can't fund that. And as a general policy, we don't fund salaries because they're not sustainable. So our approach, we've talked before about this, is to try to get the biggest bang for our limited buck. So sidewalks, these are really unsexy, non-glamorous projects, but sidewalks, ADA, connectivity, parks, trails, they benefit. We can tie the benefit to low mod income, but indirectly it benefits a lot of folks. So that's why we try to emphasize those types of projects. We can also coordinate with streets and their sidewalk funding and their staffing to help us make that money go further. One thing to remember, and when you look at this from a steering committee's perspective, is we do fewer larger projects. They're less expensive to administer as opposed to a lot of little projects. So we really want to emphasize that. And then the one thing you as politicians need to do is avoid the temptation to help anybody that asks for it. I know you want to help them, but some of you need to say, no, we can't. So, our plan priorities in 2014 to 2018, there's a 70-10-20 split. In the last plan, 2019-23, it changed a little bit to 50%, 30%, 20% split. And then this is what we spent in this last 5-year plan, $2.6 million. And we spent just over 60% on infrastructure. You can see the list there. And then this is the distribution of projects over the last decade. Adams 10, Bridger 5, Ellis 4, Hillcrest 2, Wilson, and Woodruff. And predominantly Woodruff and Adams get the bulk of it because they have the oldest share of Logan. That's where the historic parts of town are. It doesn't mean that there aren't in Ellis and Bridger. It's just that's where they are as Woodruff. So that's where we've targeted funding. But we try to spread it out to all the different neighborhoods. Hillcrest is a little bit more challenging because it doesn't meet the low mod threshold, but we can do 88 remediation work up there. Here's a really cool map that shows the distribution. The little happy faces are they're more funding activities, so like a public service, or public facility as opposed to a sidewalk. Funding rules that we have to follow is you can't spend more than 15% for public services annually. You may get a great request coming in that asks for $500,000 to to fund a homeless shelter, well, you can't because we can only use 15% towards that. A maximum of 20% for admin and planning, and generally we're around 16 to 17%. That covers Amanda's time, and then also if we've got some small planning work we can do. But again, 70% at least have to go towards a benefit of low to moderate income residents. We can't carry funds over for public services or admin, but we can carry more for infrastructure and access remediation. So when we do like a receiver project, that's the logic there is we'll identify 4 that are underfunded, but we'll throw money in there as money becomes available. Outreach, we've done a ton of outreach, even though folks don't read the paper, it's been in the paper. We do social media posts, emails, group messages. We did a community survey.
We do have a reporter here in the room. Talking about no one reads the newspaper might not be the wisest.
Some people choose, even she doesn't read the paper.
Anyhow.
Sorry, Mike.
They read it online.
They read it online, very true. We've done a community survey in both English and Spanish.
If in the future you wanted to add paid ads like Google ads or YouTube ads, social media ads that are not currently there, could those funds come from the?
Yeah, we can pay for advertisement, different advertisement if we're advertising for our annual action plan or our comp plan, we can do that. Yep. Our consultant did one-on-one interviews with the service providers, with 4 workshops, 2 hearings. We're trying to get the word out, but it's not really a super glamorous topic to talk about. It's super bureaucratic, but it is what it is. Our 5-year plan, so 24 to 28. Here's our 4 basic needs: provide for a suitable living environment, improve the capacity of community service providers, affordable housing options, and invest in CBG plan admin. And then these are our funding strategies. Basically, it's sidewalks, ADA, any public facility improvements, service providers, whether they serve low mod or whether they're serving homeless folks, invest in fair housing and housing anti-discrimination efforts, affordable housing for LMI residents, and we do that through our housing rehab program, and then neighborhood strategic planning. So here's the thresholds or breakdown: 60% infrastructure, 20% community service, 20% admin. And we have 0 going to housing. That's more of a funding of opportunity. So in this case, in this cycle, we have neighborhood nonprofit housing, come to us with a request to match a grant, and that's a good thing to do. But we didn't want to allocate specifically a percentage of that. Here's what we estimate over the next 5-year window is $2.5 million, so about $500,000 annually, and that fluctuates. We think this year will be about $560,000, and then this shows you the breakdown: 1.5 for infrastructure and ADA, $500,000 for community service providers, so public facilities, public services, and then admin and planning. And then next, we will do a workshop. Amanda will do the workshop next time, and then we'll have a hearing in June on both the comp plan and the annual action plan, and then send it on to HUD. So with that, any questions?
So I have a question.
Sure.
So I know this is our 5-year plan. So I think everyone knows I serve on the local homeless council. So say in 2 years, there's a project that could be requesting a significant chunk. What's the flexibility if we fall out of those percentages in our 5-year plan? If it would be decided that something was going to be constructed in Logan perhaps to serve the needs of the unhoused.
Yeah, you can go back and amend the plan.
And amend the plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's I'd say simple. It's just process. It's amount of public notification, public comment, and then get it approved through this group and then send it to HUD. So yeah, you can do that.
Okay, because obviously there's nothing right now, but
Yeah.
as I think
Well, 5-year window.
see, there's that might be changing over time with our economy and certain things. So.
In a 5-year window, it's really long but really short.
Yeah.
So it's hard to predict certain elements of our society and our economy. We know that there's a need for sidewalks and ADA stuff. We have a list through Public Works. It's worth $25 million. So we know that's pretty consistent, but it's the other things that we don't know that may come up that are great ideas.
Okay. All right, thanks. Other questions for Mike? on the plan?
Okay, thank you.
Well, actually, one more. So when you had the public input section, did anybody write in? Did we get anything in the last 2 weeks?
We had, so in that survey, we had 517 responses.
Okay.
So in the packet that I sent you, we included a copy of the survey, and then at the end of the survey, there was like an open-ended response, and so you'll see about, I think there's like 60 or 70 or 80 comments, and some of them are a little different.
Okay.
Some are on point.
That's what we put a little bit.
So those are at the end of our packet today? Okay.
They're one of the appendices, yeah.
Okay, gotcha, thanks. I'll admit I didn't get all the way through all 207 pages of this in the last week.
Super exciting reading.
What?
Did you?
No.
Okay.
In the future, can we get this in audio?
But now I know I can go and look for it.
You only did 205.
Will you read it to me?
I can.
So I can listen to it while driving?
Soothing voice.
I would listen. Podcast
Gosh, that's a
format.
great idea, you could do a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's got time for that.
Yeah,
We need to hire 3 more people.
Mike, page 200.
You could say it in the kind of voice that would make you fall asleep while you were driving.
I fall asleep to
So then
audiobooks every night. It sounds perfect.
So I have one other question. So our earlier comment during the opening, was that referring to this plan or is that referring to something
It's
else?
referred, yeah, the
To
analysis of
last year's
impediments.
plan?
It's one of the elements that we're updating. And really what it does is it looks at the demographics, it looks at the economy, housing, it looks at kind of all these factors. And really what you're trying to assess is, are we or are we not as a community involved with any kind of fair housing issues? And so I'm not quite sure what he's referring to in terms of there are specific cases where they've had problems with, landlords and renters. We don't really handle a lot of that. It goes through, there's an office of the state that deals with that. But really, it's one of the issues is like the Hispanic community. How do we outreach to them? What's the right avenue to get the word out to Hispanic Latinos? Because we know their population is growing, right? Doesn't mean that it's a fair housing issue. It just means we should all be aware of how do we reach a certain element of society, and it just makes us think about how do we get there. But I talked to the consultant today about it, and some of our zoning policies could be an impediment to fair housing. Like we had a discussion on occupancy, and I tried to explain to him that, we're allowed to regulate occupancy because we're a university town. And he's like, well, the federal standard is 2 people per bedroom. You can't do that. I said, well, the state allows us to do it, so it's really not an impediment to fair housing because it's allowed by state law. So we have to assess what do we think are impediments to the ability to obtain fair housing in the community. So, and I think we do pretty well. I think as a whole, Logan does fairly well.
Okay.
But it's on the website. It's
The AI part through me.
I know that threw me
I know,
as well. So what's on the website is this plan or it's last year's plan?
It's a draft.
Is it the draft plan that we're looking at today? Or
Yeah.
is it, okay.
Yeah,
Just
and it's all there.
wondering.
The current AI is out there now. Jess Lucero wrote the last one.
Okay.
And the new one's out there. Like I said earlier, we're in the process of updating Begin because we've got new maps. We had an issue with data, the year of data that we could use. For some reason, HUD's having a hard time accepting 2020 data and newer, so we're relying on a little bit older data. So,
And this one that's on the website that says draft, that's that one.
yeah, it's got draft all over.
62 more pages for you to read.
Yeah.
So,
Podcasts.
I can do a podcast.
I'm
I
waiting.
think there's other things. I think there's other things that we would prefer you work on.
Yeah, me too.
Mike could do the podcast for us.
I could.
So you want us to listen to his voice for 12 hours?
After my comment to Jeannie, I deserve that one. I'll work on the baritone.
Okay, any other questions for Mike?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
If I have any after I read all 207, I'll.
Plus the 62.
That should be able.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Our next workshop item is Resolution 2415, which is budget adjustments. Rich, you want to walk us through these?
Certainly, there are 3 items to consider. The first is $450,000 of additional connection fee revenue toward capital projects. When we budget for connection fees, we usually budget a nominal amount. For the most part, an average annual year, not necessarily a big year. Part of the reason for that is we don't want to have offsetting expenses that won't be used that same year and the revenue won't support. So this past year, we've had many more connections. Maybe not as many going forward, but many more in the past than we would have in a normal year. Therefore, we're requesting to appropriate an additional, it should be 500,000, it's 450 of residential and 50,000 of commercial, of connection fees toward the capital costs that pay for those connection fees, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we will adjust that to 500,000 for the action items, or the action public hearing. Request to appropriate $1,107,340 for the Environmental Department EPA grant for the green waste facility. This is approximately 25% of the full grant. They're going to authorize it a little bit in chunks. This is, I think, to pay for the design of that facility in part, and then we'll come back and when they've authorized the remainder of the grant, we'll ask for appropriation. The city's matching funds have already been appropriated, as I understand. And the last item is 10,000 of donated funds toward the summer concert series. This was donated by Cafe Sabor, I believe, just in Hamilton in some fashion, to use at the La Plaza. So we're grateful for the donation, and those will be used for the summer concert series costs.
Okay. Any questions for Rich?
Quick and easy.
All right, thank you, Rich. Are there any other considerations this evening?
I have a couple things if nobody else has anything. First one is bike weeks next week, so I felt like I should announce that.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Is it next week or is it this week?
next week.
Is it next week?
It's next week.
I have my bike warmed up.
Yep, warm your bike up, oil your chain.
I'm glad.
The
you
weather
said this
looks
week, because
amazing
I was
next
not
week. It's supposed to be mid-70s.
Last year it was horrible for bike week.
I know. This year should be good, so get your bike out. The city will be letting the Bike and Ped Committee put a table at the La Plaza too, so if you want to swing by and get a snack. I will be there Monday and Tuesday night handing out snacks and drinks.
Nice.
Before I come to our meetings here. I won't be late.
Will you be biking around as you hand them out?
I mean, I can. Do you want me to stand on the
On his
chair?
unicycle.
No. While doing my podcast.
Yes.
So if people would like to find out information on that, is that on the county website?
It's on
that
the
they
county
can
website and the county
find
Facebook
information?
pages on the
Okay.
Cash Trails Facebook and websites. Yep. But yeah, that'll be all next week. Also, there has been the Rec Center Feasibility Committee that's been meeting. We had another meeting today, and they've all been very exciting.
Did they apply for funding?
They've applied for funding. It's going to the county council a week from today
Okay.
for a workshop, and then 3 weeks from today for
So if you'd
approval.
like to
They've
weigh in on that?
Yes, if you'd like to weigh in, now's kind of your time and the public's time.
Is it for planning money or?
It's for a feasibility study.
Oh, okay.
They are asking the county for $250,000 in RAPS grant money to do a feasibility study for a rec center in
So-
Cache County somewhere.
Is that the process they go through for RAPS grants? I thought that they.
You look at the guy that's been here 5 months. That's the process the county's doing. I don't know, G. You've been here 16 years. Is that the process? That's what I was told in the meeting today, and that's what the county is doing.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they were eligible to apply for funding.
So,
But I thought.
Rich,
you
should I look
applied
at you
and
instead of
went to
Jeannie?
the- You went to the committee and the committee made the recommendation.
I don't know any of
to the
this.
Cache County Council. I didn't know you went directly to the council.
So it went to the committee, and the committee is presenting it to the council.
Okay.
The committee is recommending it to the council. I do know that
There
much.
was this
Yes,
little
that's
piece that I
separate.
missed.
Yes, you're right.
was
Yeah, so the committee has recommended $250,000, and it's going to the county council a week from today. So if you feel like emailing representatives and telling them, the county council is mostly the county and the RAPS committee, and I don't know the specifics, but they are most likely, well, in the recommendation from the RAPS committee, they are asking for city matches of some sort.
Over and above the
Above the 250. They wanted to have it at 300, and so they're asking for whatever cities are willing to participate. It looks like there's probably 3 to 4-ish cities that are probably willing to match that other 50,000.
Who does
combined.
that kind of a
Rich, this is my
Tell us how you
moment here.
really feel, Rich.
I quietly sat in the meeting. I have made no obligations because I knew Rich would hunt me down and wring my neck.
So what kind of, who does that kind of a feasibility study for that?
So the
kind of-
county is going to be the ones running the feasibility study.
The county is going to run it?
The feasibility study.
The county itself.
They would be paid,
They're paying for it, and it'll be run through
utilizing
county
their reps.
funds and their reps funds.
Well, it's everybody's reps fund,
Sure, but
but I did.
there was much discussion with Dirk Anderson and David Zook about the legalities of how they make this work, but it should be going through the county. So how that would work, I don't know. To Rich and Craig, they're having a different discussion. All I figured is I would update you that
Okay.
more than likely, if it goes through county council, they're probably going to be coming to us and asking for some amount of money. I figured we'd just take it out of Rich's paycheck personally, but
Do what you need.
Well, I just said, I would think that a feasibility study of that magnitude would not be handled by a government organization. That's all I'm thinking, that you would hire someone.
well, they are planning, I think, on hiring it's an RFP.
But I'm
I probably
assuming
should have
that-
put that part in there too.
Okay, I'm assuming somebody.
Again,
but somebody
again,
needs-
5 months,
Somebody
Jeannie.
needs to accept the funds and hire the company. So is that what you're meaning by?
Yes,
That
they put
somebody has to
yes,
accept
there's
the
an
funds
RFP
and
in there
spend
too.
them?
I have notes, but they are not as organized as coming out of my mouth. Should I have just
Okay.
emailed you my notes this afternoon?
So.
Yes,
the-
we can clarify.
Let me just.
Don't make sure
for
this
me,
doesn't end up in the
for me.
paper. Please, they all voted for me.
For the rec center,
Not everybody voted for it.
We've already talked about your ballots enough, Amy. I don't need to know that part.
so for the concept of a new rec center,
The county is,
the committee proposed RAPS money
yes,
from the RAPS committee. The RAPS committee approved that allocation and is
And
sending it to the
recommended it to the
council for its ultimate, because they're the ultimate approval body.
Mm-hmm.
Once that 250,000 is
we'll do
approved,
an RFP.
the county will do the RFP?
That's my understanding.
Okay, so the cities are all okay with the county managing this, I guess. They have
Yeah,
to.
well, it depends on which city you want to talk to.
Okay.
But there is much debate here on where a rec center would go, whether we do
And
one, whether we
so-
do 2, whether we do 8.
So
you
do
know,
we have?
Which is why
do
it
we-
needs to
Which is why we're doing the feasibility study, so we can.
So does the committee itself, I'm sorry to ask all these
No, you're
questions,
okay.
but I just want to have it
It's
clear
a
in my head.
citizen committee.
Ernesto,
that
you
is-
were on the invite today. You should have been there to back me up.
But the citizen committee, it's a citizen committee of interested people who
It is,
decided to come
yes.
together.
Mhm.
Nobody was appointed,
No,
nobody
no.
was.
But is the
Correct.
citizen committee going to define the parameters of the study?
So they have appointed a committee of rec experts. We have, and I don't know who from Logan City is on that, but a lot of the directors from different departments are on a committee that are going to design the feasibility study.
Oh, okay.
So I'm assuming
Okay.
Russ will appoint someone to be on that, and then each of the other neighboring cities will appoint someone. So that committee will put together what they want on the RFP to define that scope.
Okay, I'm just,
No,
I
you're
just
okay.
wanted to
It's
clarify.
good you clarified because I only gave you 4% of the information originally.
So
5
anyway,
minutes again.
so
Thank you.
Do you have any idea at what point the community can expect the results of the feasibility study? Have they talked about that,
They have
the
not.
timeline?
There was no discussion of date today. So there was discussion of the committee of directors should have that rough outline of what they want from the feasibility study in 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay,
So from there, they'll conduct the study, I guess. And
okay.
I have no idea how long that'll take. You probably have a better guess than I do.
No, I don't.
You probably have a better guess than I do. And then the last thing I had on here was just the Safe Streets for All. I think you guys all got the email for it, but it is a public meeting, and it is May 16th from 9 to 11:30 a.m. at the Logan Library. It should be.
And at 11:30, we're doing the lunch for, that's the same day as the lunch for the.
We're not inviting these 3.
No, everybody's invited.
Well, not everyone.
Everybody who works for Logan City is invited to the lunch.
Yes, all Logan City employees.
And we're considered
Are we considered
employees?
employees?
We are. You know,
Well,
you're
no, what
eligible
we're-
for retirement.
Yeah.
Actually, what we're considered.
Did you not know that? You better go talk to Ambry.
Rich, in all our meetings, you've never told me this.
You're not, it's only tier 1.
So Mike,
How else am I going to retire?
we do have to work for our meal, however.
Yes, usually we have
We
to
do help, we
serve.
do help serve.
We help serve.
You get what's left.
Yeah, get leftovers.
Are we doing it at the park?
Yeah, it's at Willow Park.
At Willow Park.
But anyway, Safe Streets for All, May 16th, 9 to 11:30, Logan Library.
Sounds great. So Ernesto asked if we were going to talk about the newspaper reported that Target is coming to town.
Yes.
Are we
So
allowed to
just-
talk about that now?
So, well, I'm just going to say, it's just a reminder that
It was
the
in there.
developer is the one who has worked out an agreement with Target. That is not a city issue. But for the, it sounds like many people are very happy that Target is
If it's,
coming to
if
Logan.
it's online,
The room
it
is
must be
full.
true.
So
Yes.
it's on Target's website.
It is on the Target
Then it
website.
must be true.
Is it an announcement? If it's an announcement.
Marketed on the website.
Yeah, but that is an agreement between the developer and Target. It's not an agreement with the city and Target.
We
So-
do not own that property.
Correct. Correct, so. And other considerations. So, all right, well, thank you everybody for being here, and with that, we are adjourned.
I'm sorry, Jeannie, I was trying. I really was trying there.